There are tornado stories about devastation, and then there are tornado stories about survival. Because on April 23, 2026, an EF-4 tornado tore through Enid, Oklahoma, with winds estimated at 175 miles per hour, carving a path about 9 miles long and roughly 500 yards wide. It damaged at least 40 homes, hit Vance Air Force Base, and still, somehow, did not kill anyone. That is what makes this story feel different, not just how violent the tornado was, but how close Enid came to something far worse. For about 30 to 40 minutes this storm turned parts of the city into splintered wood, twisted metal, smashed windows, and broken roofs. Homes were blown off foundations. Commercial buildings south of town were reduced to piles of debris. At Vance Air Force Base, fences and equipment were damaged, and the base later said it was closed until further notice because of ongoing power and water restoration efforts. And yet the headline that matters most is this: no fatalities. That is not luck alone. That is preparedness. Residents in Enid did what people in tornado country are told to do, but too many people hesitate to actually do. They went underground. They got into safe rooms. They took the warnings seriously. AP reported that many residents relied on storm cellars and reinforced safe rooms, and that culture of readiness is a huge part of why this did not become a mass casualty disaster. Now, the injury count is one part of the story that still looks a little mixed depending on the source. The Associated Press reported only minor injuries. Reuters, citing local media, reported at least 10 people were injured after the broader tornado outbreak in northern Oklahoma. So the cleanest, most honest update right now is that no deaths have been reported and injuries appear to have been limited compared with the violence of the tornado, though the exact count varies by source, and that alone is remarkable. Because EF-4 tornadoes are not forgiving storms. They are the kind of tornadoes that tear walls away, lift roofs, collapse structures, and leave behind the kind of damage that usually comes with a much worse ending. The National Weather Service's preliminary damage survey lists the Enid tornado as EF-4, part of a broader April 23rd tornado event in Oklahoma. That preliminary statement confirms the rating while noting that details can still be refined as more survey work is completed. So what are the latest practical updates? Vance Air Force Base reported no injuries among those assigned there, even though it sustained damage. The base was dealing with power and water restoration after the storm. Community cleanup began quickly with emergency responders, residents, and volunteers moving into search, rescue, and debris clearing mode almost immediately. Governor Kevin Stitt publicly highlighted the absence of fatalities, and local officials pointed to the fast community response as a major reason the aftermath did not spiral into something worse. And that is the deeper story here. This was not just a tornado about destruction. It was a tornado about timing, about warnings, about whether people moved when they were told to move, about whether they had a place to go before the storm got there. Because when a tornado this violent hits a city of around 50,000 people and the result is no deaths, that is not just a weather story. That is a preparedness story. It is also a warning. Because the lesson from Enid is not, it all turned out okay. The lesson is that it could have gone very differently. If you wait until you see the tornado, you are late. If you wait until the power goes out, you are late. If you wait until the wind sounds wrong, you are late. The people who came through this did not beat the storm because the storm was weak. They beat it because they respected it. So what should people do when they hear a tornado warning? Move immediately. Go to the lowest floor. Get into an interior room away from windows. If you have a storm shelter, safe room, or cellar, use it. Protect your head. Keep shoes on if you can. And do not waste time trying to film it unless you are already fully sheltered. If you live in a mobile home, have a shelter plan before the warning ever comes. That is not something to figure out while the storm is already on top of you. And after the storm, Watch for downed power lines, avoid damaged buildings, check on neighbors, expect emergency vehicles and blocked roads, and remember that the danger after a tornado is not just debris. It is gas leaks, unstable structures, and people trying to move too quickly through a disaster zone. So tonight, the Enid tornado stands as both a miracle and a message. A violent EF-4 storm hit. Homes were destroyed. A military base was damaged. The injury totals remain limited compared with the scale of destruction, and somehow no one was killed. That is not a reason to relax. That is a reason to prepare harder next time, because sometimes survival is not the story of what the storm spared. It is the story of what the people were ready for. For more breaking severe weather coverage and storm breakdowns, head to StormScapes.xyz.